The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences only, so don't tell your parents! Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, your weekly home for animation reviews and discussions.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome to the Ink and Paint Club podcast for this week. I am your host, JD, and with me, as always, is my best bro in the whole wide world, Kyle.
Yo.
There's my best bro. Takes him a minute. He's sleepy. Sleepy Kyle today. Cool. And also joining us is a new face around here. So everybody, welcome to the show, Brian.
Hey, how's it going?
It is going, man. So Brian is joining us this week because I assume he has a love of Hanna-Barbera and things that are delightfully cheesy.
Yeah, you're pretty much right. Although my knowledge of Scooby-Doo and wrestling is severely limited. Like, before we watched this movie, I didn't know the characters from Scooby-Doo had last names.
There you go. So we're learning all kinds of stuff today.
Exactly.
But,
it's been a learning experience.
Yeah. But speaking of Scooby-Doo and wrestling, as you may have noticed as the title of this review, this week kicks off a month-long theme, which I am dubbing Hanna-Barbera Road to Wrestlemania Month here on the Ink and Paint Club podcast. So over the last couple of years, WWE has been doing this weird thing where they're doing animated crossovers with Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So they've done movies with Scooby-Doo and the Flintstones and the Jetsons, and they're all very strange. And we're just going to take a look at them because I noticed that WrestleMania for this year starts, I think, early April sometime. I don't know the exact date, but I started watching wrestling a little bit this past year, and I know I've got a few friends that are into it, so hey, why not?
It's a nice coincidence because a couple of friends of mine started ironically liking wrestling, and then just sort of full on love it now. They became the Mask. It's pretty great. I get to like wake up to text of going like, dude, Monday Night Raw last night.
I feel like a lot of things start like that. You just like ironically like something until you become like an actual fan of it, and it's a slippery slope. But so we're gonna be tackling the first movie this week, which is Scooby-Doo WrestleMania Mystery. Which, it was weird because when I was writing the titles for these down, I thought it was like Scooby-Doo and WWE WrestleMania Mystery, but apparently this is the only one that isn't like and WWE. But yeah, really? I guess so. Because the rest of them were like Flintstones in WWE and Jetsons in WWE, but, whatever.
Well, they made a sequel to this, and it's like they're racing instead of wrestling, but it's still like them with The Undertaker and stuff.
Yeah. And we'll get to that one in a couple weeks, so stay tuned for that. So this is obviously a crossover between the characters of Scooby-Doo and the superstars of WWE wrestling. It's got a few familiar faces you may recognize, such as if you're a fan of wrestling, I guess. Most mainstream people will recognize John Cena's in this, and I'll probably say out of all of the wrestlers they got, he's probably the best actor, just because he has acting experience, apparently, nowadays.
Well, when it comes to cartoon bulls, he can do it.
Yeah, he's Ferdinand, man, a movie I still haven't bothered to see.
It's okay.
Yeah. So we've got a colorful cast of other WWE faces here, even non-speaking cameos and such.
Oh, yeah.
But basically, the whole premise of this movie conceits on Shaggy and Scooby are playing what I assume is some version of WWE 2K whatever version. They beat it on some insane difficulty level, and Vince McMahon Pegasus is himself, like in Yu-Gi-Oh, onto their screen and said, "Hey, by the way, you guys got a free trip to WWE City, which is an actual functioning city devoted to wrestling."
Okay, that was okay. First off, they're not just playing WWE like 2K something. They're playing it like with a Kinect kind of thing,
right?
Because like this is one of those interesting things. Again, like my knowledge of Scooby-Doo is very sparse, but it's interesting seeing these characters that were designed in the 70s and they have like 70s clothes and stuff, and they're in Shaggy's, I guess, apartment or house or something, and he's got like Guitar Hero guitar. He's like a big like rhythm gamer, I guess.
Yeah.
And then like Scooby-Doo just starts like dancing all over the place, and somehow that constitutes a perfect score, and they win a trip to WWE City, which I watched this with a few friends last night, the same friends who like wrestling non-ironically now, but we were kind of discussing with each other, like, is this an actual city, like municipality, or is this like just the name of like a campground or something?
I assume it's an actual city, because at one point in this, Vince McMahon just says like the law of WWE City, like it's an actual legal system.
You're right.
And it's like the law of WWE City says that you can fight for your freedom.
I want to see the town charter.
I don't.
Yeah, but, you don't sign your name. You punch the paper and
you sign it with your fist.
Yes.
But man, I'm gonna just say this: if you're not on board with this movie in the first 2 minutes, when basically it says "Welcome to WWE City" and The Miz is attacked by a giant flaming ghost bear, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
They played it pretty straight, and then he gets knocked out of his clothing.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Well, that's when you sit there and go like, oh yeah, this is a Scooby-Doo crossover. So it's got to have these like the art style is sort of realistic. You know, it's like kind of Scooby-Doo slightly evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks much better than like the 70s show, but like they're still semi-realistic, and so it's weird to see like The Miz. Like we said, this demon bear comes and just punches him, and he gets completely punched out of his clothes, like any other Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
And then he spends the entire rest of the movie in a body cast in a wheelchair. Occasionally just cut back to that.
Yeah, poor the Miz. I almost said the Wiz.
I thought it was pretty funny with the whole video game thing. He's like, "Hey, bring your game disc as proof," and it's like, how the fuck? And then later on, they're like, "Oh yeah, his memory card says this," or we hacked into his memory card. It's like, these people haven't played video games in a long time, have they?
Oh, it's definitely one of those like, this is written by someone who's never played a
40-year-old who doesn't understand video games wrote this.
Yeah, I've never played a video game before. That's how they work, right? You bring the disc in and...
Well, it's just like every video game from a cartoon's like, "Oh, guys, we gotta get the high score to do this." It's like, we've evolved past that.
We don't have lives and scores anymore. Let's do like a throwback game.
If in some life I ever become some kind of movie director and people on the screen are playing video games, I'm going to try my best to have it make sense in any sort of way.
We can only hope. But so this is a Scooby-Doo movie overall, basically. There is an overall mystery. There's an ancient legend of a wrestling bear from hundreds of years or 100 years ago or whatever, and he got beaten by the modern day Sin Cara's great grandfather or something, and the bear went into the woods and died, and now he's come back to wreak his vengeance against wrestling.
This is, by the way, explained to us through Sin Cara interpretive dancing and John Cena translating for us.
Because John Cena can speak luchador. Because of course he can.
Which is somehow just not saying I speak Spanish.
Well, no, that's the thing. It's like, you think he's going to say that because they're like, because they meet Sin Cara on the roof, and John Cena's like, no one knows the legend of the Ghost Bear better than Sin Cara, and they're all like, well, does he talk at all? How is he gonna say it? And John Cena's like, well, I speak masked luchador, it's fine. And then Sin Cara just starts doing interpretive dance for 5 minutes, and John Cena's telling the legend.
Yeah, it's but, they had fun with this.
Yeah,
you can tell they're pretty faithful to Scooby-Doo with certain things. Whoever wrote it definitely has a love for the franchise.
And honestly, I'll give them credit in the sense that yes, it is very tonally in pace with regular Scooby-Doo, and the WWE is like fully on board with that. It's like, you know what? Just make them as ridiculous as you need to.
Well,
I got a pretty big laugh when they're like, hey, I can't see all the luggage. He's like, oh, yeah, we didn't pack those, but we wore the same clothes anyways.
Like, well,
so why is that a big deal?
Yeah. They did that, and then there's like that scene in the diner where Shaggy and Scooby are just sort of complaining about always being like bait. And so they're just like, oh, Scoob, we were like, what were they? They were dressing up as a cow. Yeah. We almost got milked, man.
I did enjoy the montage.
Yeah. And this also led to another question that was discussed amongst the group I was with. So Scooby, they're in the Mystery Machine driving to WWE City, and of course Scooby and Shaggy are just pigging out the whole time, and in the back you can see they have boxes and boxes of snacks, including Scooby snacks. And so we were sitting there going like, does Scooby have his own brand of snacks in his universe, or is he named after this dog biscuit? Like, did Shaggy have Scooby as a puppy and was like, what am I going to name you? I'll name you Scooby.
That's a good question.
Honestly, I don't know if that's ever been addressed. Hey, Hanna-Barbera fans, if you know the answer to this, let us know.
Yes, where did the origin of Scooby Snacks as a product come from?
I think his real name, though, is Scoobert. Or something dumb like that.
He does have a family. He has like a brother, like brothers, doesn't he? It's like Scooby Dumb.
Yeah.
He's like a gray one.
Yeah, he's got
with
the
like
hat.
a hat.
Well, then there's Scrappy, and that's his nephew, I guess. So he's got to have a sister somewhere.
We haven't seen him in a while.
No, we left him behind.
Yeah.
It's like that joke in Mystery Incorporated where they see the wax statue of Shaggy, and Fred's just like, we just don't talk about him anymore.
He's got a brother named Doobie-Doo, and he looks like Prince.
Of course he does. 70s were a weird time, man.
They have a fucking family tree online right now.
Of course they do.
His sister is Scooby-Dee.
Oh my goodness.
My God.
So you think Doo is his last name?
And one of his other brothers is Yabba-Doo.
Is he dressed like Fred?
No, he's just a pirate or prospector or something.
Sure, why not?
There's gold in the mountains.
Yeah, so getting back to the movie.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention that before all this happens, the very first character we don't see the Mystery Inc. gang, or whatever they're called. We see Kane, the wrestler, coming, like, walking down the street like a force of nature. Like, he doesn't drive to WWE City. He's just slowly walking there like this. Like, I don't know. He's been
like
traveling.
A fucking menacing Sasquatch.
That's it. He's the Sasquatch.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, this movie gives you a couple different plausibilities of like, all right, who is behind the Ghost Bear? Because obviously it's somebody in a mask. I mean, is it Kane doing it? Is it like this weird, like Brian said before we were recording, some weird Duck Dynasty looking dude?
Oh yeah, he shows up and he actually pulls a gun on everybody, which is
does.
Crazy.
He carries around a shotgun, man.
Yeah,
he's gonna hurt some people.
Yeah, he's not kidding around.
Which, okay, well, you've probably seen this meme go around on maybe Tumblr or something. But yes, this is the movie because there's a part of this movie where I think the Duck Dynasty guy is like not wanting people to like invade on his land because the cave where the ghost bear is supposed to come from is like on his land. So he takes a shotgun, shoots a bunch of rocks, causes a rock slide, and the Mystery Gang is gonna like die by rock slide. But no, they're saved by John Cena, who jumps out of nowhere.
Okay,
he stops a boulder with his bare hands.
Yeah, it's like an Indiana Jones size boulder, and the John Cena thing kicks in. The one that everyone used in like YouTube videos, probably around that time.
Yeah,
like 2013 or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And he just comes in and throws the boulder away and saves the Scooby Gang.
I mean, at the beginning of the movie, he like deadlifts the Mystery Movie out of a ditch.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's true.
That's the thing, is like, I want to see this if this carries over to the next few movies, because basically the WWE wrestlers are treated basically as superheroes.
Mm-hmm. They do that thing that I find really annoying, but I guess you just have to do it in these cartoons with guest stars where it's just like John Cena.
Yeah. It's like they have to stop dead in your tracks to say the person's name so you know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not so bad because they're playing a video game beforehand and they know who he is.
Yeah.
I took it more of as like they're just excited to see him, like, oh my god, it's John Cena, but
it's not as bad as The Simpsons where they're like, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Because if I was in a supermarket and I saw Elon Musk, I wouldn't know who the fuck it was.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like
either.
now.
Yeah. And if I did, I'd just be like, hey,
oh
shit, that's
neat.
Elon Musk. Oh,
he's gonna go to space someday. But I wasn't too bothered by the like anytime they would stop and like, oh my god, it's this person, because that feels very much in line with how they used to when they had those Scooby-Doo movies where they had the guest stars and like, oh my god, it's Don Knutts.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, this is much less egregious than, because I kept comparing this in my head today, the Tom and Jerry movies that they're making that are Tom and Jerry meet Sherlock, Tom and Jerry meet Willy Wonka, Tom and Jerry meet I forget who. Like
there's
the
a Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
Like those seem much more bonkers than this, because even though this is like WWE and the wrestlers are superheroes and there's a demon bear and there's all this crazy stuff, it's all in line with Scooby-Doo, because Scooby-Doo also had that series where they meet the Harlem Globetrotters, right? And the Addams Family and stuff.
Yeah, so I was like, anytime Scooby-Doo meets up with any kind of guest character, it's like, well, they've already done this before, so like, yeah, it totally makes sense. They met Batman before, so why not?
They meet Batman in their next video movie.
Oh yeah.
See, I was looking at the Wikipedia page. He's been in 30 of these straight to DVD cartoon movies. Like
they've done a lot, man.
Yeah, I feel like it's like you get 3 of these a year, I think, and
pretty much
line them up. It's like a short season of like a TV show.
Kinda. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it can't be any worse than the Scooby-Doo show that's on right now. Which honestly, I've only seen like one episode of, and it's okay, but.
The Family Guy-esque one?
Yeah, the one that looks like, because when I watched the first episode of that, and it's weird because it's like animated very well, but the character design is awful. So it's like there's no reason there should be this much animation budget with the designs this bad.
I haven't watched it, so I can't say much. But I did see a clip where like Shaggy's getting like trapped in vending machines. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I kept cutting you off, Kyle. What were you gonna say?
I don't even remember.
Oh, whoops.
So obviously this is gonna be a little bit of a spoiler if you haven't watched this movie, but honestly, I think if you're listening to this review, you don't really care. How surprised were you guys with who ended up being the ghost bear?
None. We weren't surprised.
No.
Well, one of us guessed it pretty much from the start.
Yeah, go ahead.
We saw the redneck guy and we were like, okay, he's the red herring. Well, then the rest of us were like, well, who's he going to be? And we were like, it's going to be Cookie, the like ex-wrestler character who's, I don't know what relation he has to the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
but he's there.
He's a
his
trainer,
son?
I guess. I think it was his nephew.
Yeah. That's right.
Because no one actually has offspring. They just have nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
In cartoons.
I was just like, the black guy did it. Big surprise.
Jesus. God.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but.
I mean, I will admit that I thought it was his nephew for a good part of the movie because, like you were saying, Brian, the Duck Dynasty guy is a bit of a red herring. It's like it's too obvious, and obviously it wasn't gonna be Kane. So
here's the real question. Since he gets arrested at the end of the movie, why didn't he get to fight for his freedom?
Because they had to wrap up the movie, Kyle. They had 5 minutes left.
Well,
to those who don't know, Scooby gets framed for stealing the WWE championship belt.
Yeah.
And instead of just going to jail, I guess this relates to what we were talking about earlier, the WWE city bylaws. Shaggy and Scooby get to fight for their freedom at Wrestlemania.
Yeah, because that's how things work. And I just love the fucking explanations. Like, all right, so this trainer guy who lost his chance to be a big-time wrestler back in the day is going to get his revenge. I can fully accept that he built a Ghost Bear costume. Fine, I can get behind that. But
I know where you're going with this.
This motherfucker somehow learned how to do subliminal messaging mind control from a book.
Yes.
Programmed it into the video game somehow. He's not even related to the video game company that makes that game. To do that, to hypnotize Scooby into doing Sin Cara's victory dance to steal the belt. That's where the jump of logic. That's where I jumped off with that.
You didn't find it weird that he didn't just make a Ghost Bear costume, he made a Ghost Bear robot costume.
Yeah.
And that was actually kind of a thing, because we were sitting there going like, is it going to be Cookie? And we're like, no, he's got a bum knee. That bear doesn't look like it has a bum knee. And that's what we were like, oh shit, who's going to be? And we were like, oh, he made a robot.
Of course he did, because it's always robots.
Just like where they're like, well, where's the real belt? He's wearing it right now. He just reaches into it. He's like, oh fuck, he does. He's got it on.
How convenient. That is okay. That's another weird detail. Scooby gets hypnotized by this game because he's so good at this game to learn Sin Cara's dance, which is he is then manipulated late at night. He wakes up in the middle of the night and looks out the window, and these flashing lights appear that somehow triggers Scooby-Doo to go to where the championship belt is, which is
guarded by lasers.
Guarded by lasers, and he Catherine Zeta-Jones his way to the safe, jumping and dodging all the lasers, and he gets the belt, and that's how they frame him, or that's how he's framed, I guess, or manipulated into doing it.
Right.
And what?
Yeah, I mean, it's Scooby-Doo, so fine, whatever. It's goofy. I'm not supposed to take this seriously, but yeah, the whole subliminal mind reprogramming bit is just that might be stretching it a bit far there, guys.
Well, it goes into the weird writers don't know video games thing.
Exactly. This is totally how video games work.
One other minor detail that we saw during this scene. So the characters all have their own little cabins or whatever, and Scooby, Shaggy, and Freddy share a cabin. Scooby, the Great Dane, gets his own bed while Fred sleeps on the couch.
Yeah.
And he seems not bothered by this at all.
He doesn't. Scooby's just like, no, I won the contest. I get to bed.
And that kind of brings me back to something I want to talk about, is the fact that Shaggy and Scooby have a reason to be here. That's fine. And they obviously need the whole gang to go. But I feel like the rest of the gang have, like, almost nothing to do while they're here. Because they didn't want... Yeah, because, like, Fred's always going around, like, taking pictures, because apparently he's really interested in photography now. Velma spends her entire time relating it to, like, Greco-Roman wrestling or, old Roman stuff. And then Daphne becomes a John Cena cheerleader.
Yeah, like, Daphne didn't want to go.
Well, none of them did.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Like, basically, Shaggy and Scooby just dragged them there.
Yeah, they had to twist their arms to get them. Yeah, they guilt tripped them.
And it made me wonder, also, I mean, are they just living in the Mystery Machine, or, like, do they have homes?
Well, obviously, Shaggy and Scooby have a house.
Oh, you're right.
I think it was more that they don't have a car.
Oh, that's true.
I think...
we need a ride over, man!
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Shaggy has a driver's license. That's why Fred drives everywhere.
That's true.
He needs a ride.
Also, Shaggy's a burnout, so he's just never in the right frame of mind to drive.
Yeah,
he's had a few DUIs or DWIs.
Took his license.
Yeah.
He doesn't show his driver's license because it's been revoked.
Oh no.
And Scooby can't have one because he's a dog.
But he can be a wrestler. He's allowed to do that.
One thing that also bothered me, but this is also just sort of tapping into my lack of WWE knowledge. Mr. McMahon is in this movie, Vince McMahon, and isn't he in, like, wrestling like a villain type?
My understanding is that Vince McMahon is, like, he's kind of like a bad guy in the sense that he is, like, the big corporate head. So they're, like, fighting against the man kind of position. Well,
Scooby and Shaggy love Mr. McMahon in this movie.
See, that's the thing I don't understand, because, like, whenever I see Vince, anytime I've watched wrestling and Vince is in there, he's usually pegged as a bad guy. But I've watched this, and I watched that cartoon they made like a couple years ago where they made all the wrestlers kids and they all go to camp, and Vince McMahon is the head of that camp. And
wait! Hold the phone. What?
There's like a 6 episode, or I don't know how many episodes. There's a few. It's a very limited run. I don't know if they're gonna make a second season, but like Seth Green and his animation company partnered with WWE to make this show called Camp WWE. Well, they took a bunch of wrestlers, new and old, turned them into kids, and sent them to a summer camp. And honestly, it's kind of funny.
Are you serious? I had no idea this exists.
And the best thing is, like, Steve Austin, like, Stone Cold Steve Austin is, like, supposed to be 8 years old, but he constantly has 5 o'clock shadow and is just drinking beer and flipping people off the whole time.
Oh, is this like an Adult Swim show, or
kinda? It was like on their WWE Network app that they do everything through, so you had to watch it through that. I mean, you can find it online easy enough.
Okay.
But it would be an Adult Swim if it was going to be on, because there's a little bit of swearing and stuff. But
okay, see, I thought it would be like a kids show kind of thing. You know, like what was that other, like Hulk Hogan had a cartoon,
Rock and Roll Wrestling.
Yeah. Like, it does make me wonder, like, what the intended demographic for wrestling is. Like,
see, I from what I've been told, it is technically all ages entertainment brand. They do want kids. Obviously, they sell action figures. They want little kids to do it. I watched wrestling as a kid a little bit. So there is some light language when I've watched it, but it is pretty PG for the most part, aside from, like, you know, people throwing people and punching them in the face.
But anyway, back to them loving Mr. McMahon. It kind of caught me off guard, because I was sitting there going, like, why is Mr. McMahon being treated like a god in this movie? He's supposed to be the villain, the heel, the corporate overlord.
Because he's probably CEO. Yeah, he's the CEO. Yeah, he's the CEO. He's probably the one who brokered this deal between Hanna-Barbera in the first place. So he's like, well, I can just write myself as this awesome god character in this.
Well, I think it's interesting because If you guys remember back, there was a bit of backlash when they took Fred Flintstone off the Fruity Pebbles box. They replaced him with John Cena.
Oh,
People,
yeah.
like, flipped their shit.
Oh, yeah.
That was back in, what was it? 2013. And I think this movie came out around the same time. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, they have their own studios. It's WWE Films, and they've done a bunch of other stuff. So
yeah.
I kind of feel like they're putting interest back into Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
That's true. Have you guys ever heard of what was the WWE Jingle All the Way 2?
Yeah, that's one of them.
Oh, yeah.
It's got Larry the Cable Guy in it, and somehow it's a WWE production movie.
They've done a few movies where it doesn't actually have a wrestler in it, but they still produce the movie.
Yeah.
It's just the first one I remember was Knucklehead was being a big one. It was Big Show was in that.
Wasn't there like a horror movie too, like See No Evil?
I think they've done a few horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at a list of like the movies they've done over the years, and it is a wide spectrum of genres.
I think it says they did Scorpion King too.
That was their first one because
they also did the Leprechaun reboot that went nowhere.
Oh God. Poor Warwick Davis.
Yeah, he wasn't in that one.
Oh, good.
It was crap. It was like some like little person wrestling personality. I don't know.
Good. Get him out of there. He deserves better.
It wasn't Mr. Davis. Also, okay. Back to the movie.
Yeah.
There's a woman in this movie named Miss Richards who's just this business like looking type woman who's like they all answer to, even like she's up there with Vince McMahon in terms of like power. And so we're looking at each other when we're like, is she the mayor of WWE City?
She might be. I think she's a character made up purely for this movie, so I don't think she's, as far as I could find, she's not an actual wrestler. But yeah, she's like the head of the security force, and for all we know, she might as well be the mayor if Vince McMahon isn't.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Vince
is probably
would be the mayor of WWE City.
Because of course he would be.
Yeah. WWE City consists of the Wrestlemania like stadium, some kind of weird looking like stadium seating looking set of like cabins that all the Scooby Gang sleeps in, and then a big row of 24-hour restaurants that all the wrestlers go and eat at.
Yeah, so it's like I want to see if there's actually like housing where like do they govern a municipality or something like a little outside of where the stadium grounds are. It's like how much does this city encompass? Like how many residents does it have? Do they have to pay taxes to the government?
The political structure of WWE City is left very open. We must ask.
It's a Scooby-Doo movie. Don't ask questions. But yeah, boy. So I think that's the gist of this movie, guys. That it's goofy. If you're not into wrestling but you're into Scooby-Doo, or if you're into wrestling but not into Scooby-Doo, either way, I think if you go into this fully expecting just to not take anything seriously, is just goofy nonsense, then I think you're gonna love this. Because honestly, as much as like I like Scooby-Doo fine, I really like that more mature show they did a couple years ago, and obviously I have some cursory knowledge of wrestling, so I had a good time with this. I thought it was funny. What did you?
It was baffling and strange and weird, and again, I have very little like. I know a lot about like, I know like Hanna-Barbera stuff, but not Scooby-Doo too much. And I don't know much about WWE, but it was weird, but I was entertained.
Yeah.
It was very strange, but it kept my attention, and it was just like, oh, okay, this is happening. Okay, this is happening. All right, here we go.
Kyle, what were your thoughts on it? You've been pretty quiet today.
I'm not really a big fan of either, but I enjoyed it. It was pretty fun. Because I was listening to Daphne talk, and I'm like, hey, that's great. And then I had to look it up. How long she's been doing the voice, because it just sounds like a normal woman voice.
She's been doing it since like the early 2000s, hasn't she?
Yeah, I looked it up, and I was like, I read the name of who did it before, and I'm like, fuck.
Who was it?
I don't know if maybe Brian might know it, but it was Mary Kay Bergman.
Oh yeah, she did all the ladies on South Park, right?
Yeah, she killed herself in like 1999 or whatever. It was pretty sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she was the voice of Daphne, like just her at that point.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah. Frank Welker has done Freddy ever since the conception.
Since the 60s.
Yeah.
Well, it makes him the only like consistent cast member. Like, there's been all sorts of Scoobies, Shaggy's, Matthew Lillard now.
Basically since the live action movies, he's taken over as Shaggy.
Yeah. Casey Kasem can't really do that anymore.
But it was funny because in that Mystery Incorporated show, Casey Kasem was Shaggy's dad, so I thought that was funny.
Well,
really?
Weren't most of them like the original voice actors?
I'm not entirely sure. That was the only one that I caught, which I thought was just kind of and Casey Kasem sounded super old.
Well, yeah.
He's getting up there if he's... Yeah.
Well, he passed away a few years ago, yeah.
Oh, that's right, he is. I forgot he passed away.
Like, he went senile first, I think, and then he...
Yeah, he ran away or something.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, but, yeah, Matthew Lillard took over, and I don't know anything about Velma, but, yeah, she's obviously not the same person. But
JD will.
What?
Yeah.
JD loves live-action Velma.
Oh, really?
Oh, I do. Fuck. I always blank on her name. It's the girl from Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
God, why? She's in Avengers 2.
I know Buffy is Daphne in that movie.
Right.
And Freddie Prinze Jr.'s Freddy.
That's inspired casting right there.
Yeah, there we go. And I don't know who voiced Scooby, but...
Well, it's weird because, like, in the old, like, 60s show, Freddy and Scooby were voiced by different people, but now Frank Welker's both of them. He just took over. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was entertaining. It was... Definitely came out of left field. Just... I remember hearing about it and just being like, what?
Right.
But you know, looking at the list of the movies, the like 30 odd movies that they've been in that are like straight to video, there's Lego versions of them. There's puppet versions. There's movies. Yeah, there's a puppet movie. There's one where they meet Kiss.
Oh yeah.
There's one where they go to space.
Of course.
What else have we got here?
There's
we got Pirates. We got.
Well, there's one where they literally resurrected Batman Brave and the Bold to do a crossover movie.
Yeah,
5 years after that show got canceled.
Yeah, that's the latest one, The Brave and the Bold. Yeah,
I kind of want to watch that one.
I saw the last episode of Brave and the Bold. I'm not a big superhero guy, but I remember a friend of mine telling me like, "Oh, you gotta at least see that because it's kind of like it makes fun of." Because like Batmite is watching, and he like changes Batman to like do all sorts of weird stuff.
Yeah,
pertaining to toys or whatever. He's like, I'll use my blank thing, and it just looks exactly like a toy that they would make of Batman.
It was his Super Street Luge.
Yes, that's it.
I think that was like one of the best ways to end a series. Like, just super weird. It was awesome. Henry Winkler and
And Batmite was Paul Rubens.
Yeah.
It was a good time, everybody.
It was a good time.
So
I think they even have a Scooby-Doo segment in that. It was Shaggy beats up Joker.
There is an episode where the fucking Scooby-Doo crosses over for no reason.
Maybe they just loved that so much. They were like, oh, man, let's make a movie of it.
Sure.
Hold on, we got this WrestleMania mystery to make.
But, yeah, so if you guys are looking for some nonsense and some Scooby-Doo and some wrestling stuff, I think you'll have a good time with this. But, yeah... And honestly, this is probably not the most bizarre movie we'll get to this month because it just gets weird from here on out. So.
Did you watch the previews for any of the other ones?
I've seen like some pictures from it. I haven't watched any of the trailers. I'm trying to go in fresh to these things. So
I watched the trailers last night for the rest of the month. I don't know if I'll be here for all of them, but I do want to be here for the Flintstones one because. I watched the trailer. I was very excited that the wrestlers just live in Bedrock. They don't try some like convoluted reason to have the wrestlers there. So in lieu of that, they change all their names to be like Flintstone type names.
Yeah.
So it's like John Cena Stone, Mr. McMagma, I remember, the Boulder Twins, and then the Undertaker. They just didn't do anything to the Undertaker. And all day today, I'm sitting there going like, what's a prehistoric Undertaker name?
Yeah, so that's a spoiler. Well, I guess not spoiler. Whatever. Yeah, the Flintstones movie will be our next movie we'll tackle for next week. So get your Flintstone puns ready, everybody.
I've got my Fruity Pebbles. I'm ready to watch it.
There you go. But yes, Brian, thank you for joining this week. It was a blast having you on finally.
Yeah.
And everybody, thank you for listening. I hope you guys enjoy this review and looking forward to the rest of Wrestlemania Month. So we'll be back next week to review another animated wrestling movie. But until then, we'll catch you all next week.
Also, I hope you don't mind my really bad Jackie impression.
It was beautiful.
It's like, man.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can catch a new episode every week. Also be sure to follow us on our Facebook and Twitter so you can keep up with the show. Links are in the description. We'll see you next week.